Solo leveling. Finding ourselves back in the hospital now, we find a completely changed Jinwoo grinding out some daily training. Actually kinda crazy to see over the past few arcs how much his body has physically changed. Dude looks like a complete beast now. Entering the room, Jin's nurse is taken aback and she quickly apologizes upon encountering the topless man engrossed in his workouts. Upon closer inspection, she is amazed at the remarkable transformation her patient has undergone. Curious about his potential discharge today, she inquires, only to have Jin confirm it. Taking me completely off guard, like damn I was not expecting to see this. Before he leaves, she asks one final question, if it's possible to obtain Jin's name and number. A bit confused on why she'd even need it, the nurse tells him that he doesn't need to give it to her, but because Jin assumes that there may be some form of medical result they need to text him, obliges. Leaving the hospital now, and in Jin's apartment, we observe his sister who is in the process of putting her shoes on and preparing to leave. Just before she does depart, Jin startles her by shouting out and inquiring if she's about to head out. His sudden presence catches her off guard as she had actually assumed he was still asleep. Jin quickly explains that he's been awake for a while and advises her to be cautious due to the traffic outside. Interrupting his rambling, Sung asks if he has been working out, noticing the changes in him. To her, it looks like he's more toned out and has even grown a bit. Telling her to stop with the nonsense and take the umbrella instead, she exclaims that it doesn't even look as if it's going to rain. Plus, it's so heavy. Oh my lord, why in the world is this umbrella heavy? Is it made of gold or something? Demanding that she stop making such a fuss about a silly umbrella, Jin tosses it into her bag and sends her off while waving goodbye. Looking down at his status screen and still having his run, our boy is just like, meh, I'll do the sprint later on. Crazy that this 10k run he had previously, like only a few chapters ago, has turned into a casual sprint for him now. Also, in only a short amount of time, his muscles have grown heaps, and for Jin, he can't really understand how his physical state is changing this much only after just starting to work out. It makes more sense to him that the status screen also actually affects his physical appearance. Since he keeps on increasing his strength stat, his body is in turn changing accordingly. At level 18, Jin has 22 times his original HP and 35 times the MP or magical power. With a strength rating of 48 and 12 remaining points to use, Jin wonders if maybe he's put too much points into strength. He thinks that, even with a high damage output, it's good to have a balance. From what he's felt so far, the synergy between strength and agility is a potent combination, so he will put some more into that stat. However, high health is also better, and the sense stat turned out to be even better than he originally imagined. Wondering if intelligence is something that he needs to build, he knows it's related to magic, but still doesn't have a clue about its overall utility. Ending with only putting more points into strength, agility, and sense, Jin looks over to see his phone begin ringing. Not knowing who it could possibly be, Jin picks it up, only to be instantly harassed by his landlord, who hadn't heard from him in weeks. Obviously, Jin was hospitalized and completely forgot about paying his month's rent. Asking if he should delay the payments for a month to let Jin sort out his finances, Jin, like the chat he is, responds that it's fine, he'll transfer them soon. Hanging up and thinking on his double awakening, Jin assumes that if he really is an awakened person, he should be able to make money pretty quickly. If he then continues to grow at the current rate he is, he'll become a top rank hunter in no time at all. In solo leveling, hunters kill monsters to make their bag. The higher the experience, the higher the rank, and in turn the crystals that the monsters drop are worth even more. To beat a higher rank monster, you need to enter through a gate of the same difficulty. A rank boss, for example, equals an A rank dungeon. Because of that, there can be a lot of competition for the lower rankers who are all able to enter the easier dungeons. Since this is the case, most E rank hunters are never accepted by a guild, and even if they are, it never makes finding a job easier. Jin is, obviously still E rank. Like remember when that dude showed up and the magical crystal thingy read back an MP of only 10? And since, he's never really experienced a gate above D rank, he's in a bit of a tough spot here. Dungeon runners are based on competence, and due to his title of the weakest hunter, his pickings for dungeons were extremely minimal. Questioning if he should just go ahead and get his strength reviewed again, he shoots the idea down as if people do find out about the double awakening, it will become a wildfire of gossip. The wider population love to gossip, and hunters for the last 10 years or so have been in the forefront of this subject. His pay would increase with a rise in his attention, but evil eyes will fall upon him and there's no telling what they might do because of jealousy. Ending his inner monologue, Jin won't tell anyone about his power increase. Instead, he'll make money first by hopefully entering an attack force looking for more members. Suddenly spotting something on his phone, we then shoot across the city to the outskirts of a construction site as Jin makes his entrance. Seeing him arrive, one of the taller guys yells out to him before going over and shaking his hand, while also introducing himself as Hwang Dong-suk. Oh my god, my Korean brothers and sisters, that there is a name for the history books. My boy Dong-suk be out here grinding hard. Oh man, poor boy. Regardless, as Dong-suk inquires if he is the E-ranker, a few nearby hunters start laughing and claim to recognize him. Mockingly questioning if his nickname is truly the world's weakest hunters, the gooners all tease him. Big Dong intervenes on Jin's behalf, telling the Muppets that they need to stop and emphasizing the importance of having enough people to enter the dungeon. When it comes to, like, the dungeon, as listed on the site, it's going to be hard for Jinwoo to fight since it's a C-rank gate. Due to this, he's been exempted from fighting. However, he's still going to get paid 2 million won for showing up and filling the member count. Handing him a contract, Hwang asks for Jin to quickly give it a look over before signing it. Activating his sense stat and scrutinizing all of the members in front of him, Jin discerns that 5 of them are C rank, while the remaining 4 fall below the average for a D ranker. In the world of solo leveling, a rule dictates that when entering a C rank gate, there must be a minimum of 10 people, with at least half of them being C rank or higher. This often results in an attack force composed primarily of sheer numbers, which actually poses a lot of challenges for the group. Interrupting Jin's contemplation though, another newcomer approaches and introduces himself as Yu Jin Ho, a 22-year-old D ranker. Similar to Jin, he was also summoned under the same circumstances for needing to fill a gap. Stunned because Jin finds it odd that this dude with all his fancy gear is somehow only D rank, he asks if he's the son of a millionaire. Cutting them off, Dong tells Jin that his role inside of this dungeon will be nothing more than to follow them and take care of the baggage. Inside of the bags, they're filled with a variety of different supplies and tools that may come in handy in case something random happens. Hearing that they have a first aid kit and not a healer, Jin asks why they didn't opt to take one. According to Hwang though, incorporating a healer into the personal attack force is considered extremely challenging. Additionally, the established tradition within the group has always been to operate without one. Perplexed by this decision, Jin internally reassures himself that he won't take responsibility for others' imprudent errors within the dungeon. By the way, in the light novel, Jinwoo actually has a phone call with Dong before meeting up with him. I kind of need to mention it because they kind of refer back to it here and there, or at least I think they do, I can't remember exactly, I just remember that they had a phone call, and then when reading this here, it never even happens in the webtoon version, but, you know, oh well. There's another, moment that does happen like that throughout this arc here, but we'll get to that later on, obviously. Strapping up, grabbing their bags, and brandishing their blades, the group make their way into the midst of the abandoned construction site. Looking around at the desolate environment, Dong-suk questions if it's because Gyeonggi has been in a bit of a rough spot as of recently. According to Jin Ho, the boss of this construction site gapped it overseas with 9 billion won around 2 weeks ago. Now the remaining workforce and people funding the job are having a difficult time restarting their project. Looking at the ridiculous bag on his back, Jin Ho asks if he'll be alright carrying it all by himself, to which Jin affirmatively replies. He knows that, thanks to his recent strength stat increase, the weight on his back is absolutely nothing. Telling him that he doesn't need to be so formal, Jin Ho asks if he's normally this quiet. Hilariously, Jinwoo, oh my lord guys, we actually have the craziest dilemma here, a Jin dilemma, which is, a little bit painful for my brain right now, but either way, back in the conversation, Jin actually thinks it's him who talks a bit too much, awkwardly replying that he didn't mean to bother him by talking, it's just that no one's really ever taken notice of him before. After all, being a hunter is only a hobby of his. So, you'll see, Jin Ho is actually a conglomerate, which is weird to call a person a conglomerate of some sorts, because, in actual terms speaking, a conglomerate is a large corporation, or more usually, a firm that forms with others to create a conglomerate. Either way, announcing that they've now made it to the entrance, everyone looks at the massive blue portal in front of them. Some think it's odd that the entrance is so large, especially since it was only meant to be a C-rank dungeon, but Hwang reaffirms that the guild gave it a C ranking, plus he's seen a bunch of people go in and out of it. According to legend, the size of the gate isn't actually important. The important thing is the magical energy that flows from within that said gate. To judge the output, a guild will determine the amount and quality of energy it gives off before finally ranking it. There is a larger guild that takes care of everything above B rank, and apparently C rank gates, along with ones lower, are never truly dangerous. Hearing that they're about to enter the dungeon, Jinho brings out his sword and shield, stunning our Jin with just how baller this guy actually is. Looking over, he tells him that they better head in now. However, Jinwoo tells him that it's probably best they don't stick side by side. Examining the rest of the squad, it's pretty obvious that they all make a decent amount of money and are equipped with great gear. In comparison to Jinwoo's previous experiences, these hunters are a completely different breed. Inside the dungeon now, Huang doesn't like how dimly lit the place is, and asks his fellow hunter, Yu Huan, to make some light. Creating an orb of light and illuminating the area in front of them, the group is left baffled that not a single monster is in sight. Instead, a bunch of different tunnels lead off in random directions. Usually, around the outskirts of dungeons, there are a few luminous stones, so it's odd that there isn't any of them in sight here. Looking at Jinwoo and asking if dungeons with no monsters exist, Jin tells the armored up pretty boy to be quiet. Listening and trying to sense something, Jin knows that if there are no lights, it's probably because the monsters like darkness. It isn't that there are no monsters in the place as well, it's just that they haven't appeared yet. Normally, it's hard for monsters to live in a dark place, but if they have some form of intelligence, it means it's possible the monsters don't entirely depend on sight. More likely, they move in large packs and live in the darkness, constantly charging towards any sign of light. Suddenly, as the sweat begins to form on his face, Jin hears a sound coming from down a tunnel. Screaming at everyone that it's insect-type monsters, the others all stand there baffled, wondering if they could be in a nest of some sorts. With the sound getting closer and closer, everyone begins panicking and screaming out, asking for info on what tunnel it could be coming from. Yet, and because everyone is literally in the same situation, it's useless. Coming in clutch once more and hearing the ragged approach, Jin yells out that they're coming from above. Seeing them begin to appear from the darkness, thousands of insect-like creatures begin steadily getting closer. To have any chance of fighting them, Gyuhan recognizes the need to get the insects off the ceiling. He decides to take action and blast the roof exit with a beam of light energy, destroying a bunch of them and causing a few more to drop down to the floor. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Dong-suk gets closer and activates his magical abilities, emanating a vivid red and orange hue. This captivating display draws the attention of the insects towards him. Starting to become overwhelmed, Dong yells out for the damage dealers to do their thing. Darting forth and slicing up all of the insects, the group's C-rank hunters begin making their way towards Dong. Chilling on the sidelines, Jin compliments the C-rank hunters on their versatility. Big Dong-suk is truly fulfilling his job as the group leader, and the damage dealers work excellently together. To him, it's pretty obvious they've worked together for some time. Looking at Jun-tae and Sukmin, he can't help but feel like they're sort of rough around the edges. Jinho is alright, it's more his equipment is so freaking good that it makes up for his lack of skills with fighting in battle. While Jin thinks everyone's doing well and examining the fight, a sneaky little bug tries to attack from behind, quickly reacting and blitzing it before anyone even notices. Overall, he finds this dungeon run a little bit frustrating. A while later, and after wiping out all of the insects around, Dong-suk asks if they want to hit the entrance up after cleaning the place out. It could take a while to fully finish the dungeon, so there isn't any need for them to exert themselves. Commanding everyone to take the magic crystals, he reminds them that they're splitting them among 9. Walking up to Jinwoo as the others grab all of the crystals, Huang asked about how it was he knew all of the monsters were coming from above. Telling him that he just had an inkling, Huang compliments Jin on his sense stats and keeping everyone safe, yet he weirdly advises Jin to pay less attention to the small things before leaving him to go and check on something else. Over with Gyuhan, he explains that the wounds on a bunch of the insects weren't made by them. No blade or burn from magic was found. Instead, it seemed as if they were bitten in 2. What's more, there aren't just 1 or 2 of them, but a bunch are sprawled out throughout the ones they just defeated. Wondering if it was due to a territorial dispute, Huang comes to the conclusion that there must be a stronger monster than these ones around. Perhaps even a boss. Feeling an emotion overtake him, Huang's eyes fill with greed as he smells even more money up for grabs. Noticing the change in their leader, Jinwoo asks Jinho about the worth of his shield and sword, mentioning that his father took extra care in him after hearing that he was participating on his first raid. Jinwoo tells him that he should be wary. He isn't exactly sure on the reason, but as he looks towards the other members of the group, he can't help but feel a menacing aura overtaking them. Throughout this world, a dungeon size will vary. However, the rank plays no role in this. Depending on circumstances, there are times when it takes weeks just to analyze the interior, or times when it only takes a few hours to locate the boss's room. The current dungeon Jin is in is laid out like a maze, so there weren't many fights, but it was annoying to move around in. Like we know, Jinwoo is the baggage carrier, and he doesn't really need to do anything to get involved in battles. To earn money without doing any fighting, Jin thought that was a pretty decent deal. Weirdly though, he recently received an unexpected warning about being aware of lizards. He didn't at the time know why the warning had appeared, but he was sure of one thing. His premonitions have never been wrong, and something just seems off with this group now. Stopping in his tracks, Huang finds it weird that they've been travelling for a while now, but haven't been able to locate a single beast with all 4 limbs intact. Instead, all they've found are destroyed creatures or ones that are in the process of passing. He knows there should still be a boss around, otherwise the gate wouldn't have remained open. Sensing something weird though, he tells one of his boys to bring the light up in front of the group. Illuminating what lays before them, everyone is horrified as they find hundreds of the dungeon's monsters all strung up in a spider's web. Looking into the darkness behind all of the silk, it's evident to the group that this has to be the boss's lair. Commanding that everyone gets ready, Huang then has everyone follow him into the maze of webs. Instantly being blown away, it turns out that inside of the boss's lair, a ton of beautiful blue glowing crystals were found. According to some of the team members, these crystals have less mana than the stones they receive from hunting beasts. They're dirt cheap. However, the amount that surrounds the walls of this cave would certainly sell for more than a singular essence stone. Quickly calculating the average price of these crystals and adding up the total, one of the guys thinks that it could be worth over 1 billion won. Piping up, another of the team members asks Dong-suk if this amount of money would begin to make his brother jealous. Annoyed, Yu Huan tells the dude to not mention his family, especially at a time like this. Feeling slightly gassed up, Huang tells his brother, do so, to take a good look. He's not always right about everything. Back in the past, Huang's brother instantly began treating him like ass after obtaining a higher rank. He even betrayed this beautiful country of Japan and moved to the United States for money. Huang knows his brother thinks that he's dumb, and may even be treated like a VIP over in the United States. He knows he's seen as a weakling, however, that's all about to change. With this new wealth, his opportunities and strike squad will begin to grow even more. With everyone stoked over the amount of money they might make off this, Jinho asks Jinwoo if it's alright for him to have a look at his contract, telling him that he's an expert when it comes to this kind of stuff. Moments later, Jinho walks forth, wanting to inquire about something in particular. Bringing Jin's contract to the attention of Huang, he elaborates on how it only states that Jinwoo will share in the essence stones gained from hunting. Nothing about extra goods or how they might be distributed is stated. Wanting to know what's up with that, Jinho asks why they left this specific part out of the contract. To him, the mana crystals should be split among all 10 of them, not 9. Feeling a darkness surge through him, Huang turns around to happily explain that all of them will be splitting everything equally. However, before they do that, they need to actually get all of these crystals off the walls. Looking further into the darkness though, everyone starts to make out the shape of a monolithic spider. Hanging there, and a blanket of its own webs perched over the small group and the crystals that lie below. Since they've just found the boss of this dungeon, Huang lets them all know that if they actually defeat the boss now, the gate will close. So before then, they need to first start mining these crystals and transport them out of here. Thankfully, for the time being, the spider is fast asleep after having fed on all of the monsters, giving the group a great opportunity to begin collecting all of those said crystals. Asking if his boy Chujin brought the mining equipment with them, he sadly tells him that they didn't, as they never expected a C-rank dungeon to have mana crystals. Kinda odd that there's some mining equipment in Jin's backpack. Annoyed because, they've got to shoot back and grab them, Huan commands both Jins to stay back and stand guard while the rest grab all of the gear. Confused, Jinho asks for him to repeat that, but Huang reassures him that he'll be fine. He explains that due to the boss already being fed, it is currently fast asleep, and it's unlikely to attack unless provoked by an intrusion into its territory. Huang emphasizes that the 2 low rankers will be safe as long as they don't intentionally provoke it. Aware that it's both Jinho and Jinwoo's first time in a dungeon of this caliber, Huang turns, smiles, and reaffirms his trustworthiness. He assures them that the spider won't be a problem unless it awakens, and points out that despite their loud conversation, it hasn't even stirred the beast. Finally, Huang mentions that he really does need to go and talk with the others before leaving with them. What a dick. In solo leveling's world, each type of dungeon comes with specific rules and requirements. To enter a C-rank dungeon, a minimum of 10 people is necessary, as we've already been over. Jinwoo is aware that the strike squad already consists of 8 members, excluding himself and Jinho. Recalling Huang's suggestion about recruiting a healer, Jin realizes that the other members have been working together for a long time. They've likely experienced numerous amounts of C-rank gates, and from Jin's perspective, don't need to fill the remaining 2 spots in their squad. Just outside the boss's lair, Dong-suk instructs his companion that it's time to seal the entrance to the boss's room immediately. With a menacing grin, the scene suddenly shifts back to their lair as both Jin and Jinho hear something coming from a nearby exit. Rushing into the room, an explosion of fire sends rocks and debris flying throughout. This causes a massive cascade of boulders to fall down from the ceiling, sealing the entrance to the boss's lair and trapping them inside. Turning his head towards the blocked tunnel, Jinwoo remarks that it's just as he suspected. These adversaries are the lizards. In Jin's early days, he learned a crucial lesson. Lizards are absolute dicks. It's widely acknowledged that entering a dungeon is a perilous job, with accidents occurring frequently. Even if a crime were to transpire, proving it is exceptionally challenging, and such incidents are commonplace. Unlike the outside world, dungeons lack CCTV for public viewing, leaving deviant actions unchecked. Jin was taught that in this environment, the weaker someone is, the more likely they are to be discarded. Conversely, if you possess strength, others will seek you out. However, if you're deemed useless or obstructive, much like a lizard shedding its tail, you risk being cast aside. Back in the dungeon now, Jinho yells out, wondering what the hell they should do about the entrance being blocked. Pushing and trying to dislodge the boulders that block the tunnel, he knows that the other members are just trying to kill them to keep the crystals for themselves. Thinking internally, Jinwoo knows he wasn't able to stop them, and because of that, they're already caught in the trap that they created. If they tried anything beforehand though, he could tell the others were ready to cut them down. Remembering what Huang said after Jinwoo initially interfered, and understanding what it truly means now, Jin drops his bags to the floor. From memory, the guy who blocked the door, Gu Han, was a C-rank magician with light-based abilities. Examining the blockages, he can tell that escaping isn't the current problem. Now, and because of the blast, it's awoken the massive spider. Over at the entrance to the dungeon, the other members slowly begin leaving while joking that they should take a break for a bit. One of the guys asks why it is they decided to do it this way. He thinks it would have actually just been easier if they killed them back there themselves. Calling him an idiot though, Huang explains that if they did that and the spider woke up, how would they mine and move the mana crystals? Since they've left the world's weakest E-rank hunter, and a D-rank hunter who's never even fought in a raid before, he knows it's literally impossible for them to beat the boss, no matter how hard they try. For now, they wait. Once the spider has taken care of the others and goes back to sleep, then they can take advantage of it and mine those crystals. If that doesn't work, then the second option is that they have to kill the boss themselves. Remembering how dripped out Jinho's equipment was, they also state that if they can't bring all the crystals back, then at least they can take his stuff. Bringing out his phone and pondering what rich family Jinho was from, Dong-suk jokes that they should at least take care of his funeral. Scrolling through his phone, probably looking for a funeral place, he then asks Gu Han if he thinks he'd be able to take the boss out on his own. Replying that it's impossible in his eyes, Huang begins to stand back up while also agreeing with his underling's take. A boss is a boss. No matter how hard someone tries, 2 low-ranking hunters will never have a chance to make it out alive. Flashing into the lair, Jinho, perceiving himself as the powerhouse of the duo, commands Jinwoo to stand behind him as he contemplates a strategy to defeat the monstrous creature. However, as Jinwoo examines the beast, he discerns its vicious nature and realizes it's far stronger than any adversary he has encountered thus far. The creature boasts numerous eyes, a repulsive mouth, an impressive size, and colossal legs. Its strength surpasses anything that he has faced for sure. The phrase, another level, triggers vivid memories of Jin's harrowing experiences in the Double Dungeon. Acknowledging his own foolishness, Jin recognizes the true meaning of strength. Stepping out in front of the D-ranker, he instructs Jinho to stay put. Lowering his hand and retrieving Risaka's fang from his inventory, Jin announces that this beast is his, and he will be the one to defeat it. Completely baffled, Jinho questions how an E-ranker plans to take down the boss. Without providing a clear answer, Jin raises his blade in preparation for battle and instructs his fellow hunter to focus on finding an escape route. Knowing that he's somewhat correct in his analysis, Jin can only wonder why it is though that he doesn't feel an overwhelming pressure bringing him down to his knees. The blue poison fang Risaka he encountered in the instant dungeon proved to be an exceptionally tough boss for an E rank level, potentially even surpassing their D rank difficulty. However, the golem boss was definitely D rank or even lower. In comparison to these previous challenges, the current boss appears to be unbelievably strong. Jin, noting that he does not succumb to fear in the face of this boss, speculates that he has reached a level of strength where intimidation from a C-ranked boss is no longer an issue. Smirking as the boss charges towards them, Jin, now at level 18, believes this is a fight he can win. As his companion flies forward, Jinho screams out for his older brother, only to be instantly silenced. In front of him, Jinwoo swiftly maneuvers through the air with unprecedented speed, relentlessly stabbing the spider-like beast multiple times. Realizing that his attack worked, Jin is super thankful for having picked up Risaka's fang. Landing back on the floor and remembering the reason a hunter is called a hunter in the first place, he turns back to look at the beast, feeling like the real hunt has only just begun. Skipping back over to Jinho, who's progressively getting more and more ill as he comes to the realization that this person is an E-rank hunter. Stuck in place, he watches in awe as Jin, newly awakened, evades every attack with unreal speeds. Over with our boy, Jinwoo understands that to inflict damage with his dagger, he needs to strike as deeply as possible. Swiftly dodging the spider's attacks, he realizes it has no blind spots. Being a large spider with 8 legs, 2 more than an insect, it can easily penetrate the floor or rocks due to its size. Each attack possesses a potential threat to Jin's life, so he decides to take some time to get in close safely. Darting along the floor, Jinwoo ascends to deliver a barrage of quick but forceful stabs to the spider's face area. Stunned and perplexed, Jinho wonders about the identity of this person in front of him. An E-rank hunter? From his perspective, it seems implausible given the extraordinary movements he's witnessing. Yet, the fact that Jinwoo's submitted rank in the guild is E-rank leaves no room for denial. Still grappling with the inconsistency, Jinho contemplates whether Jinwoo could be a false ranker. In solo leveling, only a few specific hunters have the ability to control the output of their magical power and can deliberately lower their rank during the initial evaluation. Those who conceal their true powers to secure a lower rank are known as false rankers, or colloquially, smurfs. The alarming aspect of all of this for Jinho is that false rankers are typically individuals with unsettling mental states, often indulging in killing as a hobby. Observing Jinwoo's slightly heavier breathing, Jinho drops down, questioning why he agreed to come to this place. The unsettling possibility of encountering a false ranker adds to his apprehension, making him call out for his father. Caught in the midst of battle, Jinwoo reflects on the passage of time. Unsure if it's been 5 or 10 minutes since he began fighting the boss, one thing he is certain of is that his stamina is gradually depleting and he hasn't managed to inflict substantial damage yet. Summoning a part of his screen, Jinwoo notes that he has consumed 57% of the fatigue stat. Recognizing that the higher his fatigue, the lower his overall speed becomes, he realizes he can't prolong this battle any further. The urgency of the situation prompts him to consider a change in strategy. Knowing his dagger has some special abilities, he plans to use them on the beast in an attempt to gain the upper hand. So, just quickly refreshing what the effects even were in the first place. Right now on Risaka's fang, he has Paralyze and Bleed. Paralyze, like the name, will stop someone in their tracks. Bleed, like if you've ever played League of Legends or similar games, will bleed the opponent's health for 1% every second. Bleed, in my opinion, is a pretty lethal ability. The fact that it doesn't say it stops implies it goes on until the opponent can bring it to an end. Either way, continuing on, seeing the spider fall down towards him, Jin knows that the basics of raiding is to exploit the weak points. The head of the monster is naturally a weak point, and the weakest part of that area is the eyes. Getting caught by surprise, a green ooze starts to leak from the mouth of the beast before it shoots a torrent of acidic poison towards Jin that incinerates the floor below. Luckily, Jin was able to dodge out of the way and realized that even this boss was hiding his trump card up until now. Feeling like his time's going to run out if his battle prolongs for much longer, Jin tells himself to quit playing around and focus up. Faster. Willing his legs to move at an even faster speed, Jin knows he wants to close the distance even faster than he did previously. Randomly, his screen appears letting him know that a new skill, Sprint, was activated. Due to this, his movement will increase by 30%. Instantly, Jin vanishes, kicking stones up as he rushes forward, aiming to defeat the spider once and for all. Turning into a flash of blue light, Jin darts around the exterior of the beast, stabbing it with his dagger over and over again in an attempt to activate his effects. Sadly, and just after his paralysis effect activated, it deactivated because the enemy's resistance was too high. Pretty much like he's out-leveled right here. Say the monster's level is too high on Jin where his effects don't land at all pretty much. He wants to finish this battle as quickly as possible, but it's quickly dragging out since he's unable to land a critical hit here. As Jin's breathing intensifies, it's evident that his fatigue has increased to 61. Despite the escalating exhaustion, he pushes his body to endure just a bit more. Observing the intense struggle, Jinhu acknowledges Jin's incredible speed, but recognizes that continuing at this pace will inevitably deplete his stamina. Wondering what he might do, he watches as Jinwoo jumps off the ground in an attempt to strike the spider once more. Preparing his strike, Jin is suddenly overcome with a shooting pain that resonates through his entire body. Since his fatigue reached 70, Jin was no longer able to keep up his normal speed and was subsequently struck by a leg, being sent hurtling backwards into the ground. Absolutely knackered, Jin looks up to see the spider quickly chasing him down, intending to land its killing blow. Flashing back to a memory where he was given a chance to pick from his rewards and first tried out the status recovery, he accepts today's status recovery. All of a sudden, Jin burst from the floor just as the spider was about to destroy the area he was laying in. Surprised with the hunter's quick change, the spider looks up to see Jinwoo rush towards him. Landing on the beast's head and plunging his dagger into it, Jin quickly reacts and stabs every other eye on its face. Due to him landing a variety of different blows, this time his paralysis was able to activate on the spider, stopping it in its tracks. Immediately following this, the bleed effect activates, inflicting additional pain on the monster. Undeterred, Jin relentlessly slashes away at his foe until its head erupts, successfully defeating the dungeon boss. With the massive spider carcass sprawled out behind him, Jin levels up 3 more times, bringing his current level to 21. Reflecting for a moment, he admits that accepting the daily quest reward when he did likely saved him from potential death. Observing Jinwoo, Jinho becomes more convinced that he must be a false ranker. Noticing that he's finished gathering the monster's crystals, the little bro approaches him, now carrying all of the bags and offering to store the magic crystals as well. Dropping the bags and noting that the equipment was already inside these bags, Jinho starts mining the crystals, leaving Jinwoo bewildered with the change in attitude. Pondering that it might be because Jinho sees him as a savior, Jin's thoughts are interrupted as the entrance to the lair is blown open by Guhan's light magic. Cutting myself off for a moment here, something crazy I just remembered and almost forgot to include was that, like I mentioned previously in the story about the novel and everything, Jin in the novel actually defeated the giant arachnid without using status recovery. So I wonder why it was that it was different here. I'd love to know all your thoughts and everything down below. Walking into the lair and expecting to see a few dead losers, Huang is stunned to silence after seeing that they both somehow survived. The others ask how the hell they survived and if the boss is dead. Did they kill it by themselves? They all bicker, trying to figure out what happened. Wuhan even assumes that the spider may have just been a large, stupid creature. Others think that it's probably the equipment Jinho was wearing that allowed them to survive. Thinking he underestimated Jinho, Huang knows that the E ranker wouldn't have been any help here, so he concludes that the D ranker had to have been the one who took it down by himself. He isn't able to tell what kind of special ability his gear might have, so he thinks it might be troublesome if they decide to become his enemy. One of the goons turns and asks Huang what they should do now, to which it's revealed that the group's next plan of action is to try and win Jinho over. Yelling out to the D ranker, Huang tells him that they searched him up because he had such nice equipment and was blown away to find out he was the son of the great chairman Yo Myung-han. Also, while we are here and everything, can someone explain to me, who understands Korean culture a bit better than obviously I do, why everyone seems to have a different last name? Is it just the first name that takes the role of the family name in this culture and everything? How does that all work out here? Either way, I'm just kind of curious. Probably could search it up on Google and figure it out like I've done for the video right here. But, you know, we're not going to dwell on that for much longer. Asking if that was indeed his father, Jinho annoyingly affirms it. Huang then gives him an option. You see, Big Dong Suk wants to talk about something with his dad, and because of this, they're willing to give him a chance only if he strikes Sung Jin-woo down. Reiterating that this is only the way he will live, Huang commands him to kill Sung Jin-woo and join their group, otherwise both of them will be taken out. Seeing him hesitate, they ask why. After all, nobody will know what happens in the dungeon. Or was it perhaps because he was afraid of an E-ranker? Turning to Jinwoo and looking at him, our boy lets him know that it's okay. It was always a given that he'll be betrayed because he's weak. Not taking this for an answer though, Jinho stuns everyone as he stands his ground and sticks next to Jinwoo. Obviously bro, has his head screwed on here and everything, and while this is going on, the others ask Dong what they should do now, to which he replies that they need to take care of the weak one first. Taking on a menacing aura, Hwang unsheaths his blade and questions the two if they've ever killed a human. Suddenly, an emergency quest notification appears in front of Jinwoo, informing him that a quest has been issued. The system recognizes the presence of entities nearby with intentions to harm the player. To survive and ensure his safety, Jin is required to slay them all. Failure to complete this quest will result in a penalty quest, much like the one issued back in the hospital. The required kill count is set at 8, with Jin's current number of felled enemies standing at 0. Confused and left grappling with the sudden turn of events, Jin has no time to dwell on his predicament as Guohan unleashes a blast of light energy. The attack connects with Jinwoo, propelling him across the room and crashing into a nearby wall. Dismissing the perceived insignificance of the supposed pathetic E-rank, the others all call out to Jinho, urging him to join them. Glaring back at them with tears in his eyes, Jinho accuses them of all being nothing but murderers. Laying there himself in a pile of rubble on the other side of the room, Jin just questions why. Why did he forget that the weak are always the first to be forgotten? This place, a dungeon, the entire thing focuses on the survival of the fittest more than anything else on Earth. Seeing the black shadows of people in the distance begin to get closer, Jin understands now. It's just that his thinking was completely wrong up until this point. Every single time he entered a dungeon, he stepped past his limits. He was healed, and he still entered a dungeon once again. For some bizarre reason, he always mistook this place for a safe one. Now, and only after seeing that the system is forcing him to murder this enemy, he has realized it. When there is a threat, you kill if you don't want to be killed. This isn't a coincidence nor goodwill. This is what the system needs, a strong Jinwoo. With an HP of only 1360 out of 2600 and blood pouring from his forehead, Jinwoo regains his footing and fixes his sight upon the enemies in front of him. In a moment of realization, Jin acknowledges what he's about to do won't make him physically stronger. However, he has come to understand that the system desires him to become powerful. Clarifying for those who may be confused, Jin is referring to the system signaling him out alone and pushing him to be that guy, the Himothy of this domain. Grinning and declaring that the system utilizes him, and in turn, he will utilize the system, it skips over to the gang of lizards as they all joke with Guohan, telling him that it's embarrassing he wasn't able to kill an E-ranker with a single shot. Stepping up next to him, Hwang asks if he really did try and attack seriously, to which the Light Mage affirms. He knows that he put a bunch of magical energy into the attack, but is just confused on how it turned out this way. Seeing Jinwoo starting to walk towards them, he wonders if his aim was off or something. Speaking up, Jinwoo tells them that they've all played around with a person's life, so they better be ready to face the consequences. Unable to hear him due to their chat, Jin continues saying that if they truly are hunters, then they need to prepare to become the hunted. Recognizing the threat posed by the E-rank hunter, another of the lizards steps forward and assures Hwang that he will be the one to handle him. Appearing instantly on Jin's shoulder, the lizard attempts to convey to him that it seems Jin doesn't quite grasp the gravity of the situation. Unfortunately for the diminutive creature, he fails to sense Jin opening his inventory and retrieving a blade. In a swift and seamless motion, Jin slices through the first lizard, catching Jinho and Dong Suk by complete surprise. Announcing that that's the first one down, the remaining 7 members all scream out in horror, wondering when it was Jin picked up a knife. And when that Jun Tae, laugh out loud, I love how his name was probably never even mentioned before his death, was still D-rank, Hwang is baffled with how an E-ranker took him out. Covered in blood, Jin, slightly distraught, knows that he just committed the ultimate sin, murder. Although he's able to detach himself from the crime and say that the system ordered him to do it, it doesn't change the fact that he still did it. Still, it's a dungeon. If he doesn't kill, he will be taken out like the garbage he used to be. There is no escape now. In a world where only the strong-willed survive, Jin reflects on every moment that brought him to this perilous juncture, and after a good while, decides to seize the moment. Feeling darkness overrun his mind, he leans into it, allowing his most malevolent self to emerge from the abyss of hell. His magical aura flares up, stunning all those around him. The transformation signifies a shift in Jin's demeanor. Like we all saw him get a bit manic back there in awe with the spider earlier on, but now, as he fully embraces the harsh reality of his circumstances, he almost accepts the darkness as a part of him. Unaware of Jin's transformation, Huang cautions his comrades to not let their guards down, and orders Guhan to unleash another blast. Following these orders and channeling his energy, the dude creates a large orb of light and hurls it towards Jin with all of his might. Instantly vanishing from the mage's sight, Jinwoo reappears underneath the dude's arm, dodging the blast and remarking that his magic is freaking annoying. In a flash, Jin absolutely sharts all over this dude, vanquishing him before he even realizes what happens. Enraged after just watching their boy get treated like fodder trash, two more guys rush forth in an attempt to strike. However, with remarkable ease, Jin dodges their attacks and swiftly dispatches both, sending them straight to the Shadow Realm. Li Chul-jun strikes at Jinwoo a few times, however, Jin is just too fast and evades the lizard's attacks, making Li question how an E-ranker is moving this way. Letting the darkness speak for him, Jin states that if they are indeed hunters, why don't they try hunting? Hunters were made to hunt. All of a sudden, Li is afflicted with Jin's paralysis effect, making him scream out in horror after realizing that his body won't even move. The other lizards see it and question if it's a form of magic. Jin-ho, on the other hand, who's already spectated one of these battles, thinks that he's getting stronger than when he originally fought the dungeon boss. Back in the fight, Jin swiftly inflicts the effects of his blade on 3 more members, leaving them screaming out in horrified pain. Dropping them to the floor with a flash of his movements, Jinwoo begins to approach the final member of the group. Still stunned, Huang questions if it was actually Jin who dispatched the dungeon boss, which is like, no, really man, who would have expected that? Not expecting an E rank to defeat all of his members, Huang begins to power up, vowing to show that not all C rankers are on the same level. Activating Empower, a fiery red glow envelops Dong-Suk's body, granting him a massive increase in power. Confident in his strategy, Huang believes that no matter how much of a monster his opponent is, he should be tired after fighting a dungeon boss and 7 hunters. Examining him more, he comes to the conclusion that he specialized in agility and dexterity, and is convinced that Jin lacks the skill to pierce through his Empower ability, so in turn will be destroyed the moment he attempts to attack it. Flashing face to face though with the leader of the lizard group, Jin confidently asserts that he is indeed strong. However, there is one thing the leader doesn't know. Placing his palm over Dong-Suk's face, Jin completely halts the man's movement and slams him head first onto the dungeon floor. Looking down at the subdued man, Jin reveals that it's because he's always leveling up, ceaselessly. Slowly coming to, Huang wonders what happened. Surely he wasn't just slammed into the ground. Snapping back up and realizing that his life is in danger, he wonders if this means the person who stands before him is a false ranker. Pleading for them to not kill him, he says he'll give Jin money, and he can have all of the mana and magic crystals too. Glaring at the C-rank lizard, Jin tells them that it's happened 3 times now. Still, he just wants to clarify that the person who tried to kill him 3 times is now asking for forgiveness. Understanding that Jin has no intention of stopping, a look of terror crosses Huang's face as he screams out, questioning if Jin believes he can get away with this. Jin calmly reminds him of what he said earlier. Nobody knows what happens inside a dungeon. Despite Huang's insistence that Jin will never get away with this, and him not knowing who his little brother truly is, Jinwoo pays no attention to what he says and abruptly ends the conversation along with the life of the final lizard. All of a sudden, grossed out of the fact that his clothes got all messy and also realizing they don't even fit anymore, Jinwoo just decides he'll go and buy some new ones after he leaves. Obviously, man knows he's about to get the boss's crystals and probably some mana crystals off the wall. Also grossed out, but more for the fact that he just witnessed a mass homicide, Jin-ho looks in his fellow hunter's direction. Pointing out that due to them defeating the boss, the dungeon is closing quickly, Jinwoo has the other Jin follow him towards the exit. Simultaneously, a new reward screen appears in front of Jin, letting him know that he has completed the emergency quest and received a new reward. Accepting the reward, Jin is given 3 new rewards to choose from at any time. Picking the 3rd skill out and accepting it now, Bloodlust is activated as a new skill instantly. This ability uses 100 mana, but is able to put a selected target or targets in a state of fear for 1 minute, along with another effect of fear that lowers everyone's stats by 50%. Skipping away from everything here though, and going over to the good old United States of America, more specifically Washington, we find a bulky man waking up and randomly wondering what time it was in Korea. Guessing he must have had a bad dream or something, tears roll down his cheeks, and he places his hands upon his now wet eyes. That was a step and a half up for the series. I can 100% say when I started reading this art, I did not expect Jin to go Itachi mode and wipe a squad from existence. The freaking game itself was like, bruh, I see you might get killed. Sorry, I'm not gonna help you out, but instead ruin you mentally with this crazy new instant quest that it totally didn't create just on the spot there. What can I say? This arc truly caught me by surprise, and I would love if this series is constantly able to reproduce the same kind of twists. What did you all think? I'd love to know down in the comment section below, and if you were as blown away with this switch up as I was, then make sure to tell me your favourite moment down below.